Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Fuel community. My name is Wack, today is May 14th, and today's episode is going to cover some really red hot sizzling rewards available for our ETH, liquidity providing incentives. We're going to talk about like a whole bunch of really cool Ethereum news. We're going to be talking about like a MicroStrategy version for Ethereum, the new one that's come up. We're going to be talking about some really cool messaging from the Ethereum Foundation and about like just what Ethereum is for. We're going to be talking about a whole lot more as well. So let's get started.
10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Okay, the place to start here is with this post from Aerodrome. And Aerodrome are an exchange on Base, and they are actually really performant. They do a whole lot of volume and activity, and they've got their new liquidity providing rewards. It's called Aerodrome Slipstream. And one of the things that you'll notice here is that they have this one pool USDC rETH. So it's a rETH stablecoin position, and they are offering 511% APR on that, which is a truly like mind-bogglingly large amount. So if you are interested in providing liquidity to that, I don't think it's going to last for too long. You know, as more people chase that yield, then the position will get full, which will dilute the rewards. But for now, it looks really strong. So if you have some rETH on Base, if you have some USDC on Base, you can throw it into that pool and earn that sweet reward. You earn those sweet rewards. Now, Coinbase Duck here has an interesting strategy, and he says this is where Deribit official deal becomes so important to being a liquidity provider. He says you can liquidity provide only 35% on Slipstream, USDC and rETH with a custom range of $2,000 to $5,500. He says you'll take a hit on the impermanence loss on the liquidity position, but if you can hedge your impermanent loss on a cheap ETH option on Deribit, which is now part of Coinbase, he says this is where institutional players are coming to liquidity providing. He says the pie is so big, think bigger. So what's really interesting here is that, you know, rETH, of course, is the token that we're talking about, but this kind of strategy would work with other liquidity pairs as well. And you want to hold rETH because obviously it has that native yield built into it. So it's, you know, you're earning yield on that asset as well. It's not too like non-yield bearing assets that you're holding. And if you can play these kind of games, then you are raking in the fees basically from all these different places, you know, with some smart hedging. So what's really interesting here is that this is you know going to be one of the things that is going to drive the next step of adoption into DeFi. Now we all know that DeFi is one of the main use cases of crypto, and what we what we're seeing here is more and more attention is being placed on DeFi, and with strategies like this where you can earn amazing yields, you know, that's going to be absolutely amazing. So if you have rETH on Base, you know, throw it in this liquidity pool, you can earn some nice yield. And if you're feeling adventurous and feeling like a pro DeFi user, then you can also counter the impermanence loss with some options on Deribit. So yeah, good stuff. really cool there. Thanks for that, CB Duck. Okay, we got some news out of NodeSet here, sharing news about Constellation and from Gravita, and they're saying that if you were XRETH holder and if you took part in the delete the deposit pool campaign, then you should have received your RPL rewards for that now. So RPL rewards were being used as an incentive for people to mint XRETH, and you know, some people did that, and they will now be getting a share of those RPL rewards that they were promised. It's taken a while to get those rewards to those people. Nick gave an update a couple of days ago saying that everything was ready. It was just a matter of signing the transactions on the safe, and I guess that is all done now, and that has been distributed. So yeah, this is really cool news, and a few of those people would have gotten some nice, well, maybe small, but some amounts of RPL. Okay, let's move on to some Ethereum news now, and this is some exciting news that might capture the wider audience. So I'm going to cover this first, but there's some other news that I think is way better that I'm going to cover next. But here, BTCS Inc., which is a NASDAQ company with a ticker BTCS, has announced that they are buying ETH. Now, what makes this special? Well, they are offering convertible notes that they're going to use against their company, and then they are going to use those notes to buy ETH. So what they're saying is they've arranged financing to buy up to $57.8 million of ETH. The company has entered into an agreement for the issuance of convertible notes led by ATW Partners LLC. It says this capital infusion enables us to expand our Ethereum validator node operations and increase our ETH holdings. It says executing what we believe is a critical inflection point in Ethereum's growth trajectory. As the Ethereum ecosystem evolves, BTCS remains committed to building scalable infrastructure that drives recurring revenue and long-term value for our shareholders. And it says the initial $7.8 million tranche includes a personal investment from the CEO, Charles Allen, reinforcing leadership's alignment with our strategy. So this is absolutely awesome news. We've been hearing like rumors for a while about someone doing the strategy playbook with Ethereum. Like we got a couple of companies coming out doing it for Solana a few weeks ago, and people were just like, when is this going to come to Ethereum? Well, now it has come to Ethereum. This is the first company that is doing this. From what I'm seeing, hints around crypto Twitter, etc., it looks like there's others that are close to launching as well. So it might get to be a little bit of a crowded field quite soon. From the people that I've listened to, it looks like, you can expect some of these companies to be merged, or there to be like some kind of power law effect where one wins out. It's just it's because the amount of liquidity there is that needs to be shared across more people. And, unless they do something that sets them aside, then you likely won't get that happening that much. But the comments here are really positive. Like people were just really happy. One of the things that confuse people though is like, why is the ticker of this company BTCS? Like what's going on there? And it turns out that they were a former Bitcoin mining company that transitioned to staking ETH, which is absolutely amazing. And Charles Allen here says, I'm proud to share the thing is a new capital allows us to scale our Ethereum validator operations and grow our ETH holdings. So what's really interesting here is that this ETH will be staked. So it's going to be earning yield, and that yield will then potentially go towards paying back those notes, which is really like a really nice mechanism. And of course, you don't get anything like that with Bitcoin, right? And BTCS already has a history of running validators, and what's really cool is they actually run their node on Rocket Pool, and they stake their ETH through Rocket Pool, which is absolutely awesome. They're node operators, which is really, really great. So this echoing the same things that Charles here, the CEO, is saying. This is a pivotal time for Ethereum, and he's also personally invested money as well. And there were some actually really interesting comments here with people like kind of seeing this out of left field. So DC Investor says, is there some more context? Who's behind this, etc.? And Jasper, who's one of the Rocket Pool community members, he says that the blog post was quite detailed. There's the CEO post, and he says, I never heard about this before. And Jasper says that he's interfaced with BTCS for months. They run Rocket Pool nodes, but he had no idea they were planning this. So yeah, this is really exciting. I don't know what it's done to their share price, so let's go have a look together. BTCS stock, and let's see if it's made any difference at all. It's up 3% today, which actually isn't that interesting. Like that's I'm surprised it's not up by a bit more than that. We've seen companies really zoom up when they purchase Bitcoin. I guess the effect hasn't quite made its way down to people paying attention to ETH strategies like this. So yeah. Okay, now this is the news that I'm really excited about, and that's exciting too, but this is like really exciting. So the Ethereum Foundation here has announced $1 trillion security initiative. So this is a move coming out of the Ethereum Foundation, kind of setting the vision for what they want for Ethereum. And this is like a blog post that basically it says, what's the $1 trillion project going to do? What's the security project going to do? And it's going to map the landscape of security, executing improvements and focusing on identifying, doing the mapping overview, and then communicating more effectively about Ethereum's security, and who's going to contribute to this project. So it's going to be led by Frederick and Josh Stark, who are on different teams in the Ethereum Foundation, and then they will also get support from Samson, who people know from the SEAL, the white hat hacker, and then there's also Mehdi and Zach, and they want your help as well. So what actually came along with this was this Twitter thread where they said that in announcing Ethereum the $1 trillion security initiative, an ecosystem-wide effort to upgrade Ethereum security to help bring the world on chain. And then they had some details here. So this information here was actually really, really interesting. So they said their goal is to have a world where Ethereum has 1 billion individuals who feel safe holding $1,000 on chain. So, or billions of individuals holding $1,000 on chain. So that will, equal trillions of dollars. And then they want individual organizations being comfortable storing $1 trillion inside a single contract or application. Now that is an absolutely amazing goal to have, and I really think that the Ethereum Foundation can get there, especially if you look at asset managers that are coming on chain, things like BlackRock. They've got $10 trillion of assets under management. They just need to bring 10% of that on chain, and that will have $1 trillion contract, which would be absolutely amazing. So this is a really clear, concise post about some of the direction that Ethereum wants to take, and the feedback to this was really, really cool to see. People are just talking about how this is great for security. This is just really good. So there was a lot of positive feedback. Here we have Oberon, who is a co-founder of Etherealize, saying Ethereum security is unparalleled, but there's still more to do to become the most reliable foundation for civilizational infrastructure. Honored to be stewarding this project to help us get there. And then he says this isn't just about L1 consensus and client security. We're looking at the whole stack for any weak point, stopping the entire world from moving on chain. L2s, app layers, compilers, audits and bounty models, cryptography, research areas, everything is fair game. So they want to have a look at everything. And then we had another take here from Stake Your ETH, saying I had to triple check to make sure this was the official EF account. Clear concise messaging stating Ethereum is the most secure and trusted network, and that must become the global settlement layer secured in trillions. Plain and simple, nothing abstract, alluding to subtractions or gardens, etc. So then he goes on to say, I'd say this is the first time we have a wartime Ethereum Foundation. If you still had any doubts about the Ethereum Foundation's determination to see Ethereum win, then they should put it to rest. Bullish ETH. So I really like that message from Stake Your ETH, and DC Investor here as well said that this is a new Ethereum Foundation is coming right out and telling you the goal, that they're telling you their goals, none of this fancy words, kind of sets the vision and the bar. He says, I'm starting to like the new EF. So yeah, there's really, really cool, messaging here. And what I really love about this messaging as well is the foundation saying that they want to be more clear with their communication about what they're doing. So I expect a lot of messaging coming out talking about those different areas where Ethereum is really secure, whether that's L2s, apps, contracts, etc. This is just absolutely wonderful. Okay, tomorrow we will have a research protocol research call 2. So here Ansgar is saying that it's going to be with Barnaby, and it says it's going to host the second instance of the protocol research call tomorrow at 2 o'clock UTC. That's 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. Eastern time, and it says this will focus on near-term scaling futures for Ethereum Layer 1. Now, a lot of people will be really, really happy to see this, that so much attention is being placed on scaling the L1. So it says there'll be live streams on X and YouTube, and there'll be links. So what's on the agenda? So the Ethereum Foundation will be talking about why scaling the N1. So this will be Dankrad speaking about this, and then after that there'll be scaling loops, PerfNet, networking, compute repricing, delayed execution, EPBS, block level access lists, and beyond the near term. So this is really a who's who of Ethereum research. This is just a fantastic list of people talking here, and I think this is going to be one of those calls that everyone should start listening in on, because there's going to be real alpha here. If you are interested in growing Ethereum and seeing what Ethereum is doing, this is the place to get that information. And if you don't listen in, then I'll do that work for you, and I'll cover a summary of the call tomorrow in tomorrow's episode. So you can bank on me covering the best of the best, the cream of the crop information that's relevant to Ethereum's growth, Ethereum's strength, all of that really amazing stuff. I will be covering that on Rocket Fuel every day. Okay, even more amazing stuff coming out of the Ethereum Foundation. This is just such a great day for Ethereum Foundation messaging. Like, I'm so happy with a lot of the information that's come out. So here, Josh Stark, who we just said was going to be working on the $1 trillion security project. He says, released an overview chart, an org chart of the Ethereum Foundation. What's really cool to see here is just how many teams there are in the R&D section. There's like 12 different teams. No, actually, that's not right. There's 16 different teams working in research and development. In eco dev, there's 10 different teams. Operations, there's 6 different teams. This just it shows you a lot of the key people who are involved in these teams as well. This is the kind of clarity and transparency that people have been asking for to come from the Ethereum Foundation for quite a long time. And the fact that we're getting this now is just absolutely awesome to see. Hani Abu replied by saying, we've had to fight years for this, but I'm glad to see that's finally being made available. Eric Connor replied, actually, let me see if I can find that. If I can find that quote tweet. It was a really good quote. I'm sorry, I should have had it loaded up earlier. But just saying, basically, this is the kind of thing that he's been looking for, for 6 or 7 years, 6 years. So Gabe Shapiro says things are changing. The EF is probably the most transparent foundation in crypto. And Eric Connor says, really great to see the EF put this out. Some basic transparency with the community can go a long way. And then he says, DC Investor says, never seen an EF chart, org chart released to the public. This is a very good step in the path for transparency. And he says, good to see the heavier R&D focus reflected, in my opinion. So yeah, this is absolutely awesome stuff. Like, really great messaging coming out of the Ethereum Foundation right now. It's, and with the kind of work that's being done as well, the kind of messaging that's coming out is just literally home run after home run. Like, I think, in the last couple of months, there's just been just a really top-notch messaging coming out of the Ethereum Foundation, showing that they're listening to people's concerns, listening to people's ideas and thoughts, and this is just wonderful. So yeah, congrats to the Ethereum Foundation. Okay, yesterday's episode I covered Curve Finance, about how their front end was hacked. And had been compromised. So there was an update from Curve Finance saying the DNC issue is still impacting Curve and has been identified and is being resolved. The domain remains unusable for now. Please use curve.finance instead of curve.fi to safely access Curve. It says we're actively working with the registrar to resolve the root cause. A full post-mortem is underway to strengthen the protections going forward. So yeah, this is not what you want to see, but it looks like they've been working on getting it fixed, and hopefully it will be fixed very soon. Okay, the topic that I don't normally cover too much on Rocket Fuel, but this was actually like really busy on my timeline today, so I figured it's really cool to cover it. Now, Node Foundation purchased the IP for CryptoPunks. Now, this was a huge deal a few years ago when Yuga Labs purchased CryptoPunks to use their IP for it, and I think a lot of people at the time weren't happy with some of the messaging coming out of Yuga Labs, and there were they made like some side projects with punks that people were not happy about. They thought it diluted the brand, and I think Yuga Labs haven't been doing so well with the Bored Apes Yacht Club, so they put up the IP intellectual property for CryptoPunks, and it was bought by Node Foundation, which is a non-profit. And here it says this was formed in 2025 by Mickey Malka and Becky Kleiner, and they purchased it for $20 million, and it looks like they want to really integrate it more with like the art side and open up some of the restrictions that were there for IP, and they want to open it up with they want to bring exhibitions of the full 10,000 punks collection, and doing a whole lot of other things as well. So it looks like the punk owners are really happy with this, and they are just really happy that it's like into the right hands now. So hoping that some good stuff comes from this for punks. They're of course one of the coolest communities in crypto art. Like, it's really the gold standard crypto art project, NFT project, and yeah, it looks like it's finally getting into hands of people who actually love and care about CryptoPunks and want to do really cool things with it. So congrats to the punk holders. I really wanted to buy a punk, and I was thinking that if the price, hit a certain target, I would buy it. I would buy one. And what's really funny is that the price actually hit that, but I wasn't following it too closely. And it went down about 20% below that as well, the price that I had in my mind. And I didn't actually realize that it had dipped so low until I randomly checked, like, a few weeks or months later. And by that point, it had already recovered above the price point where I wanted to buy it. And I didn't buy it, and now it's 2x up from the price point that I wanted to buy it. So yeah. Anyway, maybe I'll become a punk holder one day, but I guess that day is not today. So that's a shame. Okay, I'm going to finish with this little bit of an anecdote from Matt Hogan, who I've talked about on Rocket Fuel a couple of times before. He's the CIO of Bitwise, who of course have ETFs for Bitcoin and ETH. And Matt Hogan actually talks about, ETH somewhat, and some of his messaging is kind of not great, and some of it's like decent. But anyway, I really like this anecdote, and of course, it's good about Ether, so here's why I'm sharing it with you. So he says, spent the past few days at an annual conference. Here's some major takeaways. So he says, the big unlock is happening for financial advisors. I suspect every major advisory firm will have the ability to invest in crypto exchange-traded products, ETFs, by the end of this year. It says the level of interest in crypto is very high. So this institutional interest, it says inflow will be measured in the many billions. It says 5% is the new 1% for portfolio allocation. That's huge. So, it was that, financial advisors were telling their clients that, hey, if you should get some exposure to crypto, and 1% of your portfolio into crypto is where you should go. It looks like they have upped that number now to 5%, which, equates to trillions of dollars worth of money that's under management. Now, this is the part that I'm really interested in. He says there is interest in both Bitcoin and Ethereum. He says, I fielded more Ethereum questions in the past few days than I have in the last 6 months. Now, number go up, of course, is the best narrative. And it looks like, ETH pump last week has really brought attention onto Ethereum and Ether, the asset. And I think that, with all the changes that are happening with Pectra, successful upgrade there, and all this really amazing messaging coming out of the Ethereum Foundation, it's the right time for attention to come to Ethereum. Now, I've always said that, attention comes to your projects in waves, and, you can't have the number one mind share like every day forever. What happens is, like, attention comes to your project, and the narrative moves on to something else, and then, if you're lucky, then you get another couple of times when the spotlight is on your project. Now with L1s, that's slightly different, but what happened is that the narrative for Ethereum had been really bad, and the price going up brings attention to Ether, the asset, for people who hadn't been paying attention to it, and it then brings attention to Ethereum, the network. And now what's really great is that when attention comes back to Ether, the asset, and then to Ethereum, the network, there's actually a there now. There's stuff actually happening that people can see and pay attention to and be like, oh wow, this price didn't just move up for whatever reason, like whatever they want to attribute to it. It actually moved up for these specific reasons, and whether they're going to point to Ethereum Foundation, like, changing its course, or whether they want to point to, Pectra going really well, like whatever they want to point at, they can point at those things. But the reality is that, the price goes up, that brings attention. And when the attention comes, there has to be something there that people can like say, yeah, this is real. And when you have that, then that makes the chance of attention staying on your project for longer much more likely. And of course, with attention comes price, with price comes attention. It's a really strong feedback loop, and it looks like now it's Ethereum's turn for that. Okay, so on that note, I'm going to end today's episode. So thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I hope you all have a lovely day ahead, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.